Late 1970s, the day I got tested. I had friends dying all around me. Dear friends, relatives, and the doctors couldn't find out what it was that was killing them. But it was mostly men. They were losing weight, high temperatures, just dwindling away to nothing. That's the way my Uncle Johnny died. He died in the back room of my aunt's house. Yep. That's the way Mr. Charles's friend died. In the back room upstairs of his house. And I don't know what kind of medicine they was giving him. But it wasn't helping. And people all over the country were dying. And of course, they were blaming it on drugs. Drugs had to do with everything. And I was a drug addict, and I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time in the late 70s. I was born there, as a matter of fact. And they started broadcasting all over the television thing for everybody to go get tested. Now, that was the late 70s. I think I probably went and done it about early 80s. I'll never forget that day when I walked into DC General Hospital and asked the lady at the desk where was the place where you go to be tested for AIDS. And I didn't put too much time on it, She says, go back out this building, go around the corner as far as you can go, and it's a little building down by the morgue. Never forget it. And we walked back there. So, oh my God, why is it back by the morgue? It had about 6 floors to it. DC General Hospital. I'll never forget. So we go in, and at the desk they ask you, are you a patient, or do you want to be a new patient? Are you coming for medication, or are you coming to be tested? And I told him to be tested. I had one of my sisters with me. So they said, well, get on the elevator, go up to the second floor, room such and such and such, and that's what we did. It turned to the left, and this long hallway that we had to go down. And all of these people in there, you couldn't tell whether they were black or white or Chinese or whatever it was. They were in their beds, and all you could hear was, oh, somebody help me. I need my medication. I'm hurting. This went all the way down the hall till we got to this lady who was sitting at the end of the hall, a nurse, and she told me to write my name down on the thing, and I wrote my name, and she said, well, go into that room to wait until wait your turn. First I had to fill out some papers and all of that. They gave me the papers. And as me and my sister walked into this room, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was one of a kind going to get tested. Here it must have been about 18 people in the room. And I knew half of those people that were in there. They really and truly, as I walked in, I wouldn't know what they were for. I didn't know whether they had AIDS, getting tested for AIDS, coming to get medicine, waiting for somebody. I didn't know. But the strange part about it was that when I walked into that room, I knew half of those people and nobody spoke. I spoke, hey, what's up? But I could tell it wasn't a place for my antics. Believe me, it was not a place for my antics. So me and my sister, we got a place and we sat down and we just watched. I know we must have sat there for about 20 minutes, and I filled out the papers, and she was talking to me, She says, well, I hope you don't have it, Pat this, that, and other. She had been tested already. So the nurse come to get me, and I go into the room to be tested, and she couldn't get my blood. So she sends for another nurse to come. And this other nurse, she says, well, we're going to have to get a special nurse for you. And so that nurse says, if I can't get your blood, I'll treat you to lunch. That's what she said. She had a turban wrapped around her head, black lady, African, looked like she was African. She didn't speak like an African, but she looked like one. So she sat me down in the chair. She says, do you believe I can get your blood? And I looked at her straight in the eye. I'm an eye-to-eye person. I said, yeah, I believe you can do it. And so she took my arm and put it out, put the alcohol on it, and she did it like that, put the band back on it, and bam! There was the blood. I came back out the room, So we still sitting there. I have to wait for something. I don't know what it was. And I noticed people going into that same office. Some of them was coming out with a cupcake, and some of them wasn't coming out with a cupcake. Of course, I had to find out what that was all about. Come to find out, if you came out with a cupcake, that meant new life. You didn't have it. But if you came out without the cupcake, that meant that you had it, or you need to be tested again. They found something wrong, So now I got to wait 3 days. I think it was 3 to 4 days I had to wait. That was the worst 3 to 4 days I'd ever waited. And when I came back after the wait, and I walked into the room, as soon as I walked into the room, I started looking around for that cupcake, right? But this nurse that had got my blood, we had built such a camaraderie between us that she had hid the cupcake in the drawer. Yep, she had hid it. And she sat there talking to me and my sister, Nice, very nice lady. I wanted to hear everything she had to say. But I don't see a cupcake, and I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, I got AIDS. Lord Jesus, if I got it, please don't let me be sick like those other people. I'm thinking all kinds of things while she's talking to me. She pulled the drawer open, and she reached in it, and she brought the cupcake out. I knew I didn't have AIDS, I had to be tested a few times more. She would call me at my house, and tell me when to come in when she was there, and they tested me about 3 or 4 times after that. I didn't have it. But of course, I changed my whole life around once I found out I didn't have it. There was no more. I didn't share needles. I was a drug addict for years, 31 years. But my biggest part was the sex thing. In the early 80s, I went with one partner. I would not go with another partner. Then it got kind of flaky in 90 when I met somebody else, and it was just 2 partners, but both of them had been tested. But I wasn't about to put myself in a place to get AIDS. If I had to stop, and that nurse asked me, she says, if you have AIDS, what would you do to protect other people? And she thought I was lying. But I sat there and I told her, I'd stop having sex. I would not have sex. Because I wouldn't want to give to people, anybody else, what I saw coming down that hallway. What I saw up on the 2nd floor of my friend's house when Jimmy died. I would not want to hurt anybody like that. Nobody. And I thank God today that I don't have AIDS. But I'm telling you this story to tell you this. Get tested. I don't care if you ain't been married to the same man for 15 years. Get tested. You don't know what he's doing. You only know what you're doing. I don't care. You need to be tested, because everything that look right ain't always right. I'm here to tell you about that. 31 years of